very good morning. Sinvusele sanamukela namhla ekuseni on the show. Kusile breakfast show. September Thank you so much for joining us. It is 6 o'clock on the dot. It is the 13th of June 2023. Lunvuselago ngulungelele Magagola. I'm with my co-host, of course, Sfiso unjani mnguni namhla ekuseni.
Doing very well, Lulu. Ngiyaphila kakhulu. Ngiworried ngawe though ngoba la ngephandle indlela kumakhata ngakhona yahusha futhi bengizothi awufaka ijezi la ngephasi kodwa nje angathi uthembele
Hi, my temperatures are down. I'm well. Thank you so much for joining us today. News just coming in this morning that Denver Nuggets just won their first NBA championship, downing the Miami Heat 9-4, 8-9 at Ball Arena in Denver to take Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Congratulations to the Denver Nuggets.
Yes, yeah. Two-time MVP Nikola Jokic will lead the way for Nuggets with a game-high 28 points and 16 rebounds, which he humbly didn't want to take full credit for, as he told the media that it was an amazing effort by the team. All this happened live this Tuesday morning. It is still a fresh and developing story. We will discuss it further.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday morning. Lamhla kuseni sithabe sikhuluma kabanti ke ngetindzaba tama retirement readiness. We'll be speaking to Banomile Hlatshwayo, who is a development manager at Old Mutual Eswatini. Sithabe ke sikhuluma nge retirement readiness. Old Mutual it was established in South Africa ngeminyaka yabo 1845 as Africa's first mutual life insurance company. Inkampani ke lena lekhona emaveni lwangu 14 across Africa and Asia kanti seyicashe abantu labango 30,000. Even Lagangwane Old Mutual is committed to playing a meaningful role in economic development. Nekusita ke ema clients ngokuthi abe nemali ngokuthi ba invest imali yabo baphinze basave. Ema services that Old Mutual provide comprises of investment, ema savings, life assurance, asset management, banking and property and personal insurance solutions. So sithabe sikhulumisana naBanomile lomhla ekuseni at 6:30 kuva ukuthi how do you exactly prepare for a retirement plan? What are the stages, no matter what are the common stages ukuthi sikhona ukwenda ukuba ne retirement plan lephephile? Said ukuthi one of these things include budgeting kanye ne saving. So stay tuned.
Yeah, kasike ngakulokunye umbukelo weKBS Dulu namhla kufuna ukuthi angathuki ukuthi sikhulumelane ngetempilo kube kungilesibili sabatele ukuthi kuba ngolesithathu indzaba lenkulu ke litiko letempilo lamhla licala umsebenzi lomkhulu ekujova abantwana labancane labangemantombazane esikolweni ngemjovo iHPV vaccine. I think we've had them on the show for a couple of weeks building up to this big day lwalamuhla. Kanti ke sibonile nje na itolo umsebenzi lomkhulu lapho khona inkosikazi Makela Mathebula usukumisile ngalokusemthethweni ke lomjovo lonciphisa emathuba ekuvikela kwamdlavuza umlomo wesibeletho ihuman papilloma virus yathi usilomjovo wesekela ihlelo tahulumende wenkwenyama tekulwane kwanza kwemdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho kuleli kanti nje ema-stats basolo basipha wona lata wenda nemtali ukuthi akhona ekucudela umfana ke ukuthi awuthathe lo mjovo ekutheni be-cancer control unit lapha evenda kangwane they attend to ema-cancers lang 500 ngeminyaka mababekisa bathi 400 wabo abasurvive ke kusho ukuthi bashiya emhlabeni kanti kulabo labashiya emhlabeni 341 babang labane cervical cancer kuveta nje sithombe ekutheni i-cervical cancer i-problem kangakanani ngakho ke nemvuna elitiko letempilo lezinkosi yathe mayifikile nje lahlelweni yadichenya kakhulu ngekufika kwalomjovo lapha eveni kusho ukuthi utawuba i-life saver ukuthi ke batali kakhulu batali ababaqhudele abantu bababo ukuthi bawuthathe lo mjovo babaqhudela nje ngeconsent kahle babaniketa lemvumo ngoba umfana ufuna ukuthatha yona imvumo yemtali angakawuthathi lo mjovo. It is a developing story lamuhla lapho khona sitawubona belitiko letempilo basabalala nje itikolo letahlukene lapha eveni kucala ngalokusemthethweni kujova bona abantwana Stumulkhele Health Promotions Officer from litiko letempilo utasjoyina nomhla kuseni kusichazela kabanti ngalolu hlelo kungayinzawo.
Yeah, all right, so it's 4 minutes after 6. Mbungela sibahlete magesi spin indzaba deswati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eVeni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba tenteya ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide magama lacosheme letitsembekile letitsintsa tonke tinhlangotsi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulo msakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letichamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Phindze ngikwamukele ehlelweni Ngwanelo Muhle sikulethele nathi tindzaba talapha ekhaya lomhla ekuseni. Inkosikati Makela Mathebula sewusukumise ngalokusemthethweni umjovo lonciphisa ematfuba ekuvikela umdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho for human papilloma virus. Kanti ke lo mjovo wesekela inhlelo tahulumende wengwenyama tekulwa nekwanza kwamdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho kuleli. Umcimbi wokusukumisa lihlelo lwekujova abantwana labangemantombazana eVeni lonke bewubanjelwe e-Olympia Center kaLobamba.
Live leSwatini libalelwa kulamanye emave elivekati leAfrika lasavela liqalile loluhlelo lwalomjovo linciphisa emathuba ekuvela kwamdlavuza womlomo wesibeletho. Kanti konke kwendiwa tona taba tekuthi kuliwe nekwanza kwalomdlavuza kuleli vekati. Inkosikati Makela Mathebula idlala iqhaza lelikhulu ekutholakaleni kwalomjovo lonciphisa emathuba ekuvela kwamdlavuza womlomo wesibeletho. Ngalomjovo uhulumende uqala umkhankaso wekuvikela abantwana labangemantombazane labasukela eminyakeni leyimfica kuya kuleli 14 ukuthi bangatholi igciwane le-HPV virus lelingababeka engotini ekuthola umdlavuza womlomo wesibeletho. Bangetulu kwetinkulungwane letimbili labaphila nalomdlavuza kuleli kanti kule minyaka lesihlanu lendlulile babengetulu kwamakhulu lasikhombisa labasishiye ngawo. Naloke leli gciwane le-HPV liyingoti njengoba lingasuka kulonalo lihlale kulote kanti linjalo nje lingayihlala neminyaka lelishumi emtimbeni solo lingativeti timpawu. Inkosikati Makela Mathebula ithi lo mjovo awusiye imvume yokuthi abantwana sibangaya ecansini kungakefiki isikhathi.
Lokuthi sibavikele labantwana asisho ukuthi abasale bahamba bayolala. Sithi siyabaprotecta, siyabavikela. Sisho sithi prevention is better than cure. So kuhle kithi singemaswati ukuthi sibone sibantwana bethu bavikelekile kunekuthi sibelaphe. Ngoba nasehluleke lokubavikela labantwana nawubuka lendlela lesifo lesiphuthuma ngayo. Ku-1000 abantwana labangabe ba-infected, 3/4 of theirs will be dead before the time they get to be adults. A certain percentage will die in their early ages of starting families, leaving orphans behind. And loko kutawuba sekungumthwalo lomunye lomkhulu lese siubangele uhulumende sawubangela bona labantwana. Sibatali kufuna sibakhuthathe abantu bethu ukuthi abangavumi kuba ngileti incumathi tabomsheleletana ngoba lesifo siyeva ukuthi the earlier the child starts to be sexually active kumbeka emathubeni lesingabuka bona maybe busingathi shobo bo 98% busalitfole leligciwane lelitabe selimvulela ukuthi athole le cancer.
Indvuna yetiko letempilo impungalezi inkosi ithi inkosikazi Makela Mathebula idlala iqhaza lelikhulu kude live ligcine selinawo lo mjovo.
Kusithe ngeminyaka wa 2012 nasebenta umhlangano wabo wesithupha ke manje kuleyo conference leyo inkosikazi Makela Mathebula lobeka khona leZambia wase wakhabudlengolwane ne-center yaseZambia i-Center for Treatment and Research wase uyabamema ukuthi abete la even batokhuluma nelitiko letempilo nembala beta lapha even ubamema nje wekunene akamabe njengemlomo ubamema uyabhadala ukuthi abete vele ngoba yayingekho indlela kangakwenda masinyane lokho beta lapha even bafike bakhulumisana nelitiko letempilo ukuthi kungasetshenzwa njani.
Kulo msebenzi lesowusukumile live lithole kwesekeleka lokukhulu enhlanganweni yakamhlaba naseven leMelika. Inkulumo yalesekelala lusiba lukhulu eMelika kuleli Caitlin Piper ikubeke kwabasebaleni ukuthi live leMelika lisetawuchubeka nekwesekela live leSwatini elihlangothini lwetempilo. Dr. Susan Tembo wenhlangano yakamhlaba yetempilo i-World Health Organization uthi isinyathelo sahulumende weNgonyama sekutfola lo mjovo sihambisana ncamashi emgomo wakamhlaba wesithathu lohlose kuthuthukisa luhlangothi lwetempilo kumave emhlaba. Ucophe umlando umfundzi wesikolo ayilobamba National Primary Melokuhle Mthethwa loneminyaka le11 njengoba ebe ngumntfwana loyintombazana yokuqala ngqa even lonke kutsi ajove ngalomjovo. Njengoba inkosikazi sewusukumisile lo msebenzi sotawuchubekela kulo lonke live leSwatini. Bantfwana labajovile lo mhla batawuphindze bathole umjovo wesibili noma kunini uma sekuhlangane tinyanga letisithupha. Lebika kwetindzabeni ngisandile Makhanya kalobamba.
Kanti-ke inkosikazi Makela Mathebula iphindze yagcizelela abomcoka phela ukuthi batali batimbandzakanye ngalokuphelele etimpilweni tebantfwana babo. Inkosikazi ikhulume ngesikhathi isukumisa umjovo lonciphisa emathuba ekuvela kwemdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho i-human papilloma virus vaccine kalobamba.
Nebatali nabo siyabanxusa ukuthi babe active babe khona bantfwana bativele ukuthi banebatali. Na umtali nje uhamba njani ungumtali uyolala umfana ungamadi ukuthi ukuphi. Lo mfana lela phakho khona ufunza ini. Ngako batali asibanxuse ukuthi ababe active etimpilweni tebantwa babo bantwana babafunze bababute ufunzeni esikolweni babe nayo i-interest yekwati ngemntfwana. Nyalo ke futhi lokunye lesesinako bongosi bantwana bethu seba sensitive ngendlela lengayemuva. Sekufuna ukuthi ulomfana umbuke ukuthi namhla akajabula umdonsele edudana kwendekeni mfana wami kwendekeni sisi utakutshela lo munye unako kwesaba keja ungakambuti angeke akhulume nabo thishela ngalokunjalo siyabanxusa ukuthi bantwana babadi.
Liphini landvunankulu uThemba Masuku lithi indlela lengcono yekwenta abantu labanelibala bativele bayingcenye emango kuthi ke sishintshe indlela lesibabuka ngayo emindenini batfole nematfuba ngekuthi kulilungelo labo kungabi ukuthi bendelwa bubele. Masuku bekakhuluma emcimbini wekugubhala usuku lwebantu labaphila ngelibala eHluthi Central High School.
Inhlangano yakamhlabuhlangene yasukumisa ilanga legujwa kwelisuku lebantu labanelibala ngeminyaka wa 2014. Lo nyaka lelisuku ligujwa ngaphansi esicubulo lesithi inhlanganisela inemandla. Liphini landvunankulu uThemba Masuku selikhulume ngetinhlelo tahulumende letihlose kusekela abantu labaphila nelibala kutsi bativele bayingcenye yemango labaphila kuwo.
Kuba special sector ye disability advisory council kokucala ukuthi solo sicalile ekhuluma lenkulumo yebantu bebala sesikuphi nyaka senteni sikhave ini kuphi lapha kunedikilikithi khona letufuna kuvala bantu bayeva yini ukuthi nasithi umuntu welibala uyafana nemuntu longenalibala. Bantu belibala sibavikela kanganani thina singemaswati. Kufuneka ke thina la emindenini yethu sicale ukuthi sibe nengcondo lehlukile yekunakelela labo bantwana labo. Sithi ke kufanele naletinye tinhlangothi tente njalo nje. Dingabahawukeli tibanike ilungelo labo lokuthi babe ingcenye yokuphila.
Lo wengamele inhlangano i-Albinism Eswatini Philemon Gama sewuvete tinkinga labasahlangabetana nato babamvu labanelibala.
Kuba ngikona lokho ukuthi useadalwa nje kuvele kucale kube nelubandlululo khona lapho emndenini. So yaphuma ke so ya esiveni nasesikolweni uyefika esikolweni uthola ibullying treatment kuma teachers na kuma students public transport tonke indzawo nje labahamba khona ukhanza kusinakase uyavela sebahlahle emehlo babuka kusengubani lokumhlo njani. So ema challenges ke kuba ngilawo basically bese ke sekuba additional lokhu lokuthinza ihealth kokusisikhumba asisakhona ukutreateka nangabe singakawatholi emafutha i-sunscreen SPF 30 kuya ku50 bese ke phinze kuba nalama visual aids lesiwadzingako like ema spectacles nalokho kuvikela emehlo
Ngendlela ekubambisa abamvu labanelibala lihhovisi leliphini landvunankulu lente emafutha ekuvikela sikhumba kutsi yatfolakale kuwo onke emahhovisi etenhlalakahle i-social welfare lapha eveni. Lobika-ke Ndzabeni yeSwatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisensingizini.
Losabambe kuba indvuna yetemcebo waphansi nemandla Jabulani Mabuza uthi litiko litimisele kufeza lenye yemigomo yakamhlaba yetentfutfuko lekungu-sustainable goal number 6 lekhulumisa emanti lahlobile kungako-ke litiko linemsebenti lechubekako lapho lihlose kutsi sive sinathe emanti lahlobile. Indvuna beyivula umsebenti wemanti lahlobile eHawane lowatiwa ngekuthi kusemfonjeni kanti-ke lo msebenti usekelwe inhlangano i-Moss Foundation.
Inkundla yaseNkaba beyide emanti sikhatsi lesitse kuvulwa kwalamandike kufeza liphupho leminyaka leminengi lekuthi ngalelinye ilanga babe nawo-ke emanti. Avula lo msebenzi ngalokusemthethweni losabambe kuba indvuna yetemcebo waphansi nemandla Jabulani Mabuza uthi kungumgomo welive ukuthi sive sinathe emanti lahlobile.
Inhlitiyo yahulumende nestrategy sahulumende mhlonishwa lesisakhe nga-2019 nasephalamende ngiyakhumbula ngathi sasiveta sasivele indzaba yemanti siyibeke yaba yi-priority lokuthi live linabo ukuthi emanti akabe sembili.
Lilunga lephalamende laseNkaba Zakhele Magongo lithe imiti letawuzuza kulo msebenzi iyafika ekhulwini nasemashumini lamatsatfu namine.
Sifiso sethu ukuthi wonke liswati libe nemanti lahlobile. Kusesekuncane lokhu sisitawucocotha etinini tenkosi ukuthi tichubeke tisibambise sinebhadi ke ngaba emanti lamaningi asuka khona.
Lo msebenzi ke usekelwe yi-Moss Foundation. Bruce Jameson walenhlangano naye uthe kuyamthokozisa kubona lo msebenzi ufika emaphethelweni siveke sinatha emanti lahlobile.
It's their choice to make sure the water continues to work. She work through the men, through the system which we've given them.
Sikhulu saseNkaba Chief Mnisi sicele sive ukuthi siyiphathe kahle lembombi sathi-ke umbango akubebede. Lo msebenzi ke ubide imali lengu-580,000 wemalangeni. Endzabeni ngengiyani Msibingi Nasimuva Shongwe eHawane.
Kuchibelwa kwemtsetfo losakhankhanywa lobukete indzaba i-Elections Amendment Bill utawulisita live kukhutsata kumbandzakanyeka kwabomake bantfu labasha nebantfu labakhubatekile elukhetsweni. Lokhu kuvetwe indvuna yetemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo Pholile Shakhantu ngesikhatsi itimphunga tiphasisa lo mtsetfo.
Sihlalo welikomiti elibuke kusebenta kwelitiko letemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo etimphungeni Isaac Magagula ngekwesekelwa imphunga sikhulu Ngalonkulu Mabuza ucele timphunga ukuthi temukele tidzingidze umtsetfo losichibelo lobukete indzaba telukhefo i-Elections Amendment Bill wemnyaka wa 2023. Lo mtsetfo unetichibelo letisitfupha kanti isichibelo sesibili sithi bucopho sengeke busakhetfwa ekhethweni lolincane noma ke primary elections kepha sebutawukhetfwa nabo ekhethweni lwesibili.
I-safety and security yaleyo ndawo leyo imcoka naso ku-assess okugcineni ukuthi on the overall lo khetho belu free and fair yini.
Kwami mengameli kumsekela itolo besathi ukuthi buqopho bukhethwa nge-primary elections bese buyaphuma sebuba buqopho. Kepha sithe sisabuka sase siyathola ukuthi kukhona lesokufuna kushaya sandvungana lesokungasalungi ukuthi bungaphuma lapho. Kukhanzakale ukuthi bathi laba nemehlo lakhaliphako buqopho uthi masaphumile lapho bese uba i-campaigning agent.
Timphunga tibese tidzingidza lo mbiko.
So utawukhanza si lo qopho soluwinile lo khetho so uthi mina sengavailable ofuna ukungithenga ngangithenga ngitomwinisa abe induna enkundla noma abe lunga leParliament.
Lokhu mengameli lesikwendako la silungiselela lokuthi siphindze nasemhlabeni sibe licapho ukuthi awu eMaswati 1 aya elikhethweni 2 ayavota 3 kuba peaceful free and fair.
Ngemva kokuthi indlu yetimphunga itigucule kuba likomiti lendlu yonke kuphasa lo mthetho, indvuna yetemthetfo nemtsetfosisekelo Pholesha Khantu yendlulise emave ekubonga endlini.
Ngicela kuthatha leli thuba mengameli kubonga yona indlu for passing this important piece of legislation.
Timbonga ke tibese temukela umbiko waleli komiti ngalo mthetfo taphasa nemthetfo Elections Amendment Bill wemnyaka wa 2023. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza kunasikhumbuzo Dlamini ePhalamende.
Indvuna yelitiko lemisebenzi lemikhulu nekutfutsa sikhulu ndlala uhlazandwandwe sewucelela ibandla lebacondzisi lenkampani yahulumende lebukete kundiza i-Eswatini Civil Aviation Authority kutsi abachamuke netinhlelo letotfutfukisa lenkampani. Indvuna yekusho lokhu ngesikhatsi itfula ngalokusemtsetfweni lelibandla lebacondzisi balenkampani lebabe esikhombisa leliholwa ngusihlalo walo Fani Mthethwa.
Lamalunga lamasha labekiwe elibandla lebacondzisi enkampanini yahulumende lebukete kundiza i-Eswatini Civil Aviation Authority SWACA asikhombisa kanasaphelele kumele abe yimfica atawuba sehhovisi iminyaka lemithathu kanti bacale kuba sehhovisi nakusuka lenyanga lesetulu. Ngesikhathi indvuna yemisebenzi lemkhulu nekutfutsa sikhulu dlala ihlazandwandwe sifuna lelibandla lebacondzisi sibeke kanjena.
Umsebenzi webhodi lomcoka kakhulu lohlala ungona ukhombisa i-direction yale institution ukuthi isebenta ibhekapi. Le mhlambe umuntu lokhashana uyabuka nje nami nangamane ngithole kuba sebhodini nje kube sigaba nje lokuba sebhodini kuyendlula lokuthi kube sigaba kunemthwalo loseti kwakho ingapane uma ishona phasi kusho ukuthi kukhona nawe lawa akadlali inzima yakho khona nengapane njalo uma ngabe ikhula iya etulu sikuyabongeka lokho kubuyela kuwe tibonga ukuthi cha kusho ukuthi ibhodi iyayidlala inzima yayo ngalokufanele.
Sihlalo welibandla lebacondzisi enkampanini yahulumende lebukete kundiza Fani Mthethwa uthembisa ukuthi batawusebenta ngekutikhandla basasehhovisi uthi ukhona umgomo lekumele basebentele kuwo.
Sitawucela nje ukuthi ministry iqhubeke isupporte siyathi lokuthi egcineni ukugcina sekusebenza necabinet ukuthi isitholele lawo mafunds siyayicela leyo support sicela nesupport ukuthi sikhone ku-addressa ama-issues lamaningi lengathi ngama-legacy issues aka-Eswaka lafaka ekhathi bantu labasebentela yena SWACA.
Lamalunga afaka ekhathi lawo bekade akhona ebandleni lelidzala lokufaka ekhathi sihlalo Fani Mthethwa Camsile Buthelezi Thandiwe Hlatshwayo Sibusiso Motha nalomela umcondzisi wake-Eswaka. Lamasha alamalunga kufaka ekhathi Nkululeko Dlamini kanye naManqoba Ntshangase etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla isembabane.
Timphunga setincome kutsi litiko letemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo lengete sichibelo lesitsi-ke lokungenani umuntu akavotelwe uma sekahleli kuleyo ndzawo tinyanga letisithupha hhayi letintsatfu njengoba bekusoloko kwenteka. Timphunga betikhuluma ngesikhatsi likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwelitiko letemtsetfo letfula umbiko ngemtsetfo Elections Amendment Bill wemnyaka wa 2023.
Sihlalo welikomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwelitiko letemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo etimphungeni imphunga Isaac Magagula ngemsombuluko icele timphunga kutsi temukele umbiko waleli komiti ngemtsetfo losichibelo lobuke tindzaba tekubhalisela lukhetfo i-Voters Registration Amendment Bill wemnyaka wa 2023 lapho esekelwe khona sikhulu imphunga ngalonkulu Mabuza.
Presently umthetho uthi uyaregister uregister kuvota nekuvotelwa nawo lapho inkinga yafike angisho ukuthi kuyinkinga nako lapha kwasuka umsindo khona umsindo ngawumshe kabi ngisho ukuthi lapha kwaba nekukhuluma khona kuthi kwayena lo 3 months la bekhona lo sa increase othuba oba 6 months abe vele angasi realistic ku 3 months.
Timphunga titsikitse lo mbiko waleli komiti.
Besicelile mengameli
ukuthi akubhalwe lokho lesikusho ukuthi akavote lo Nkosi nangabe uhlele 6 months hayi kuvotela.
Asicilikele ukuthi eMaswati atawufuna kubambisa live sithi thina hayibo una 6 months kuphela ngeke simkhethe kanti lo muntu nakabonakala lo ukuthi lembili uyosita live angadi mina ukuthi ngabe sithi sendani nangabe sitawenda lokho.
Indvuna yetemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo Pholile Shakhantu ibe seyiniketa timphendvulo lapho khona timbunga betifuna kuvisisa khona kahle.
Kuthi lo 6 months mncane ukuthi umuntu angavotelwa. Lokho siyakuthatha siyakuva timbunga kepha akusiko lokungangena kulo mthetho lo. Ngoba lona ubuka nje kubhaliswa kwebantu. Kutawuthi nase sekubukwa lamanye ama-amendments njengoba bengishilo timbunga lehloniphekile ukuthi lena ifuna ukuthi ibuyele nasehhovisi laka AG libuka konke lama section la sayithwako ku constitution nayo lemithetho lekhona yelkhetho ukuthi lokho kungangena kumuphi umthetho kubhaleke kanjani.
Timbunga tibe setiyatigucula tiba likomiti lendlu yonke taphasa umtsetfo we-Voters Registration Amendment Bill demukela nalombiko walelikomiti ngalomtsetfo. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Samkeliswe Khoza sephalamende.
Lo sabambe kuba ngumabhalane lomkhulu etiko leti-70 nenhlalakahle yato Anthony Masilela. Uthi leli tiko liyachubeka nekusebenta inhlelo letitawucedza nya kusebenziswa ngalokwecile kwebantfwana pheceleti i-child labor. Masilela bekakhuluma ngelilanga lakamhlaba lecedza kusebenziswa kametima kwebantfwana leligujwa njalo mhla til-12 enyangeni yenhlaba.
Leli langa lonyaka ligujwa ngaphansi kwesicubulo lesithi emalungelo awonke asicedze kusebenzisa abantfana ngalokungetulu kwaloko lokubhekekile. Lo sabambe kuba ngumabhalane lomkhulu etiko leti-70 nenhlalakahle yato Anthony Masilela uthi leli tiko lisukumise libandla lelitawubuka lisukumise tinhlelo letitawucedza kusebenzisa abantfana ngalokwecile.
Livela kangwane-ke selihambe umgamu lomudze ekulungiseni noma-ke ekubukeni kokuthi bantwana abasebenziseki ngalokwecile la even. Takhulunyiswa leti ndzaba live-ke vele lase liyabuya liyasukuma sekwakhiwa nelibandla.
Lo sabambe kuba nkomshana weti-70 Kingdom Mamba uyachaza ukuthi imithetho yelive yona ithini ngekusebenzisa abantfana ngalokwecile.
Umthetho usebaleni uyachaza lokho ukuthi uma ngabe kusho ukuthi umntwana utholakala kuqala nje ukuthi eziliswati you've got irresponsibility yokuthi nawubona mhlambe lokho lapho umntwana asebenziseka kabi mhlambe uyabonakala sekusebusuku uhalele ngabe ulele usekhaya uyadadisha kutholakala ukuthi utholakala sokuthengisa ingwembe mhlambe etinzaweni letitsite kubo bus rank ngesikhathi sekuthi ngabe phela usekhaya yena uyadadisha. Sibheke ukuthi vele bese siyawalandzelela lawo ma cases siyakhona ukuthi siwalandzelele sithole lokuvele lokuqala bukhona yini nangabe bukhona ke umthetho uyachaza ukuthi bajeziswa kanjani. Ngingabekisa nje uma utholakele kungaba umnyaka lembili ejele noma ke 15,000 amalangeni fine.
Ikusho kwembiko wenhlangano kamhlaba lebuketa indzaba teti-70 i-International Labour Organization bamfana labatigisi letilikhulu nemashumi lasitfupha 160 million mhlaba wonke basebenziswa ngalokwecile. Etindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Samkeliswe Khoza sempabane.
Kutemidlalo umabhalane wenhlangano ledlalisa umdlalo wepool ngaphansi kwesifundza sakaManzini Musa Dlamini uthi ipholi balenhlangano babona ukuthi bukhiphe imali lenganga 10,000 emalangeni kude kudlalwe imidlalo yemkhumula jezi letosita emacembu kuthi yahlale yadlala noma imidlalo ye-league ithethe likhefu. Dlamini bekakhuluma nakuchubeka lemidlalo eMalkans.
Amacembu langaphasi kwesifundza sakaManzini ladlala umdlalo wepool wona atfola lithuba lekudlala umkhumula jezi lokhu imidlalo ye-league isathathe likhefu lapho khona bebadlalela imali engu-10,000 emalangeni. Kanti le mali yalomdlalo ayibuyi kulabo labasekela lemidlalo ye-league baka-Dixis nekusho komabhalane walenhlangano lengamele lomdlalo esifundzeni sakaManzini.
Shothi le knockout lena nje kufana nokuthi kuyi-break lapho khona kusina kutholwa kumali first round sikhona ukuthi sidlale and then spend a 2 weeks break bese sisiba siya emhlanganweni wethu kubeta imali kusho sithi kufuze silipha imali engaka 40,000 per season so lokuthatha lo 10,000 ngale kule league bekubangani le mali ibe incane kulena le kule league sase sesinono doubt sithathe lo 10,000 simfake kule league sibese sesifuna imali yekudlalisa le knockout lena kuphela lengabanga 10,000 so le mali lena ikhishwe some of the executive members langakakujabuleli ukuthi angatiwa.
Kule midlalo igarizini yakhala phasi kuma-semifinals ekucala ayidlala ne-Stars nga-11 ku-13 kwathi kuma-semifinals esibili i-Raps yanqoba uManzini Pool nga-13 ku-12 kanti kumancane bese yanqoba yona i-Raps ku-Stars nga-13 ku-11 lobikela umsakazo Eswatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini eMbabane.
Tingako lesikuphathele tona lomhla ekuseni sithatha simo selitulo sibahlola imarket masibuya Lulu sits down with Old Mutual.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nawe lothanza kuzivulela on the show today. Njengoba besishilo ukuthi we're speaking to Banomile Hlatshwayo, who is a development manager at Old Mutual Eswatini. Sabeke sikhuluma kabanti nge-retirement readiness. Dakumela ukuthi inkampani Old Mutual inkampani liyasungulwa katseni South Africa ngeminyaka yabo 1845. Inkampani ke lena lekhona emaveni nje la ngu-14 across Africa and Asia kanti sicashe abantu labangu 30,000 evenda kangwane ke Old Mutual is committed to playing a meaningful role in economic development kanye ke nekusita nje ama clients abo ukuthi abe nemali ngekuthi bas-invest imali yabo baphindze ke basave ema services that Old Mutual provide afaya khathi investments na savings kanye nalamanye ema products la khona lamhla ke sikhuluma nge-retirement readiness with development manager Banomile Hlatshwayo lesengivele nginaye lapha e-studio. Good morning and welcome Banomile. Thank you for joining us today. I think topic lena lebalekile kakhulu because in life you can't go to senama decisions lesibese siyadisola ngawo nasekufika sona sikhathi se-retirement kuma nje kusiniketa sithombe nje bokusema sikhuluma nge-retirement readiness sithini kahle kahle.
Ngiyabonga Lulu. I-retirement readiness ngicabanzi like ushido sigaba lekumele ngasiyadilungiselela sisasebenza but inqumbi yethu siyastikhanza ukuthi siyasebenza nje siphaphame ngesikhathi sebazivalelisa sibone ukuthi besingakalungeli lokuthi ngabe sesihamba siyothola umhlala phansi. So i-retirement readiness sing Old Mutual sikhulumisa ukuthi uhlale utihluphe ngekufuna kwadi ukuthi ngito banayo yini imali leyanele leto khona kungithatha through kuphila kwami after retirement ngoba liqiniso la khona lithi vele sitophila enyalo with le awareness bantu lebanayo in terms of kufuna kudla kahle kutinakekela emtimbeni siyabona ukuthi impilo vele isatosithuba ngisho sesifike ngale kwa 60. So i-retirement readiness sikhulumela ukuthi funa kwadi ukuthi le mali loyibekako nangabe usavukela uya emsebentini ito khona yini ukuthatha throughout lempilo yakho sofike ngale epensionini. Yes.
So ngifuna sikhulume nje ngale preparing nalama steps ekuplana le retirement plan yami. Ngicala nini? Ngicala kanjani? Kusiniketa nje sho ukuthi okay sesi nje namhla ngiyadecide prepare la retirement plan yami. At what age do I start? Ngicala kusebenza immediately noma mhlambe after 10 years ngicala kanjani? Yini lengendako kahle kahle? My saving, my budgeting, siniketa nje leso sithombe leso.
Okay. So kucala kwekucabanga nge-retirement kumele ucale uyicabange nawuqala kusebenza nawungena emsebentini because kumcoka lokho ukuthi utilungise. So i-retirement ikusebentela kahle the longer usayivile imali yakho. Inqumbi yethu sidikhanze ukuthi ungena emsebentini unele ujabule ukuthi hayi umqashi uyangibekela ungadihluphi nalokubuka le statement sakho la kuniketela njalo ngeminyaka. So sithi sine Old Mutual dihluphe from nawuqala kusebenza nyalo sicela siqane ukukhulumisa bo HR rating company ukuthi akungabi inzaba esitoyikhulumisa at 55 lekuyinto lendekalako nyalo ukuthi solungisela umuntu ukuthi abe ready for retirement. So for wena kuswathi ukuthi u ready for i-retirement from now uqala kusebenza dihluphe kwathi ukuthi okay ngibekela malini inqumbi yesikhathi nawufika enkampanini kuba neleyo mgomo lobekiwe ukuthi maybe it's 10% i-contribution lehlukaniseke between wena nemqashi but ke siyesithini funa lokho ukuthi kulo 10% vele utoba enough yini kukusita. So Old Mutual siye bese sesithi sihamba nawe kule journey yakho na usabekela le mali siyakubuka sikubita ngekuthi i-fund health check whereby senda ama-assumptions project ukuthi na uqhubeka ngale linani loqhubeka ngalo noma ngilo 10% noma ng13% noma ng15% utokufikisa yini kulo retirement age wakho kahle ngoba for you kokuthi ube retirement ready sithi kusinga ukhona ku replace 75% of i-income yakho. Ngicela ukuchaza ke kabanti lolu ukuthi ngisho kuthini ngisho ukuthi nangabe ukhonile kubekela kahle from now uqala kusebenza ubekele imali yakho ikusebentele kahle nawufika kuleli langa lakho lekugcina upenshelo asengibekise ngemali ngithi kumbe 10,000 emalangeni nangifika elangeni lami legcina ngihola 10,000 emalangeni for mina kusingathi ukuthi ngidophila kahle ngichandi ngale sengifike epensionini kuthi ngakuthi nangihola njalo ngenyanga sengiya replace ke nyalo angisavukele leli holo lami lelitobe lingiholela njalo until ngize ngihambe emhlabeni kutoba ngi75% of lo 10,000. So nangabe ngikhonile lokuthi ngibekele kahle stokutshela sine titebhisi ukuthi ngimaphi ema steps nakudinga ukuthi ungede ema savings to supplement siyakuchazela ukuthi ngeda ngamalini for wena ukuthi utokhona lo replacer lo 75% naso fike ku pension.
Okay, ngalokuthi banomile kunebamfu vele labatawufuna lokuthi vele bayende le plan lena le retirement plan but imali tabo ativumi kahle kahle basetikweletini letiningi but batawufosele ukhona yini mhlambe lenkwendako ukuzama ukukhulumisa leyo client yeni leyo nibonise ukuthi ingaseva kanjani itikweleti tayo ingayibhadala kanjani khona indlela tekubaside ukuthi bagcina bakhonile vele kuyikhokha le mali leyo.
Yes, so Old Mutual sinetinhlelo letimbili lesitendako inyato ngile retirement readiness la sikhuluma isakhona disebendi but before sifike lapho sithi usho kahle nje lulu bese sithi kumcashi uyathi kuthini siyathi ukuthi usaphila vele ukhanze ukuthi ungena udala tikweneti because impilo iyabida vele eqinisweni lakhona. So one of i-program lesiyendako sibita nge-on the money lesiyenda kakhulu etinkampanini nje nema civil servants siyawendela ngilokuthi sibakhulumise abantu bomcoka bekuphatha imali ngoba asikafundziseki sonke siyangena emsebentini nje wonke mva agathe ukuthi hayi udowati ukuthi imali yakho nayifika ngepayday uyiphatha kanjani. So kule program yethu siyasikhulumise timvo letisihlanu sibuke i-behavior yetilwane. First and foremost sikufundise ukuthi kumcoka ukuthi ubekele imali kubekela vele imvo lesikhule iyendiwa ngisho make ekhaya lonkhulisile emarket bekasho ukuthi nangabe athengisa le kuqala imali 5 rand wema orange uyambekela. So we always encourage lokho ukuthi asifunze kubekela. Kwesibili sikhulumisa ukuthi setha ema goals akho akhulumisane nale mali yakho. So kule program yethu sidama lokhu ngiyengithi siyaku revive umuntu ukuthi yathi ukuthi impilo ayipheli namuhla impilo ayipheli mhla ka20 nawuhola khona lokuthi le mali uyende ikusebentele wena. So inhlelo lesitendako Old Mutual ukuthi sibasite abantu towards i-retirement readiness as well.
Okay, so ngifuna ukutela nje mhlambe umuntu lo mhlambe losaqalile nje kufaka imali nani so ifakile probably for 10 years but so dikhanze solahlekelwa ngumsebenzi akasakhoni kuyikhokha leyo mali so thatha mhlambe i-break yeminyaka o2 noma even more uyakhona yini kuphinza ukuthi nasabuyile sawutholela umsebenzi aphinza abuyele achubeke la agcina khona kuyendeka imvele lokho akhona ema cases la kanjalo nidile kanjani nawo?
Okay, in such a scenario ngoba vele kule retirement sing old mutuals ne umbrella fund livumela tinkampani letiningi ukuthi tingakhona kusetha ama retirement benefits for 70 dayo. But nangabe ngicela kubekisa ngami kuse sengiphelelwa ngumsebenzi ngiyasebenta enkampanini thide. Kumele ukuthi nangiphelelwa ngilomsebenzi ngiphume kulesilulu saleyo nkampani leyo angeke ngikhona ukuhlala. So nangiphuma kuleso silulu nginema options la cishe akhona lengakhetha kokwecala ukuthi kumbe le mali yami ngingayithatha kumbe ngiyoyi preserve kuma investments la khona. Kwesibili nangabe kumbe benginema projects kumbe sengayi redirect leyo mali yami ukuthi ngiyende ema projects. Incumbi yethu ke lulu siyestikhanze ukuthi leyo period leyo asikayiplaneli. Ngiphelelwa ngumsebenzi nayifika le mali ngicabanga ukuthi ngivele ngiyisebenzise kani phela sithi thina imali yepension imali lekumele uyipreserve ngaso sonke isikhathi ngoba siyathi licinzo lakhona siyaya sonke ku pension. Yes.
All right. So nakhumula kahle the umnyaka wekupension 45 years la Eswatini. But sengithatha nje mhlambe kuthatha an early retirement at the age of 50 45 ngambe vele mhlambe ngiyangivumela yini ngiyakhona yini ukuchubeka nale request yami leyo.
Yes, so thina sihamba sivanga ngema customer ethu ukuthi okay sengiphumile enkampanini thide ngithathe early retirement, it can be due to medical reasons noma ukuthi kumbe sengifuna kuyohlala ekhaya. So siyakuvumela thina nasithola leti impepha tethu kuneli form leli ligcwaliswe through le office lemcashi basendele thina leyo mali leyo siyavele siyikhokhe kuwe kuye ngawe ke ukuthi ufuna kuyisebenzisa kanjani, but siye advocate lokho ukuthi umuntu lophuma kosicacile simkhulumise ukuthi le mali utoyisebenzisa kanjani ngona vele incumbi yesikhathi lulu abantu basuke sebane ma plan abo. That's why thine kumcuka ukukhulumisa lokuthi asingakhulumi nge-retirement nalo mfusasonzele kule podcast ekuphenjelwa ngoba sobhutha sikhulumba sakhe lo muntu sobhutha ukuthi uyolima kanzi ma projects lamcoka, but lokhanze ukuthi awukatinikete isikhathi ku-analyze ukuthi vele nakwendeka kushaya sangcotho umuntu bese sengiphila ngani. Yes.
All right. So ngifuna ukubuta ke banomile ukuthi sengiretire sengifile ku age 55 or 60 imali yami vele sengiyibona ngoba awulisem ukuthi ngihlale ngisendela ama statements ngiyabona ukuthi nginamalini nenda kanjani, do I cash it out noma mhlawumbe ngiyachubeka ihlala ngakini ngiyahola nje monthly kusebenza kanjani nje after sengifike ku retirement age yami.
Okay, so nasofikile ku-retirement so letilulu tehlukene kabili. Nangabe une pension sikuniketa i-1/3 yaleyo mali leyo. Asisi ngicela kubekisa ngedinombolo lulu ukuze umlaleli atokhona understand. So kulo 100,000 ngiyabekisa lo tobe umakhile kulesikhathi sakho la usebenta khona sitokuniketa 1/3 which means is 33,000 longaya naye ekhaya. Lo 33,000 udobona ukuthi udiphisa njani. Then lo 2/3 kumele uthenge na kulesipita ngesi annuity. Le annuity ngiyo ke leto lekwenta kusukhona kuvela efastelweni njalo ngenyanga until emalanga akho aphele emhlabeni. Ngazi nangabe boku provident fund, ku provident fund stove sikunikete lesihlomla sakho kuye ngawe ke ukuthi ufuna kusebenza njani. Sinato ke thine tikhwama ka old mutual lesitock vumela ukuthi asisilesikhomulo over ngathi angifuni ukusithatha sonke ngicela ukuthi preserve so stock khokha kulesikhwama se pension noma se retirement lokuthi bese sesikufaka kule sinye sikhwama se investment lo ngakhona ukuthi wena udositshela ukuthi ufuna kuyikhokha kanjani leyo mali leyo ikhona kukusida once ofike ku retirement yakho.
Okay, so ngifuna ukubutela lapha ekutheni mhlambe solo ngiyabhadala kahle but sekwenza ukuthi sengiyashona mhlambe ngishiya spouse ngibekise obviously spouse utawutfola but naye nangabe sangekho emhlabeni nebantwana kude ngifuna nje usichazele nje ukuthi kwendekana nasengishonile ukuthola spouse ebantwana ama relatives kwendeka kanjena sengishonile imali yami iphelela kuphi.
Okay, siyabonga lulu kokusila kangwane sinayo i-retirement fund act lekungiyona lesigayidako sidingapani leti offerisha lama services lawo. So le act istipulate ukuthi umuntu asaphila asasebenta you have to nominate ema beneficiaries akho lekutokwendeka ukuthi na wenda uhamba emhlabeni isibabhadala but asasesike kude labo bantu labo longabashiya. I-retirement fund act iyavuma ukuthi nangabe kude labo bantu labo ema instruments la khona like bo trust nangabe kumbe ufuna ukuthi to a particular trust iyakuvumela ukuthi leyo mali ingaya khona. Lengakucacisa lolu ukuthi i-retirement ayihlangani nemali yaka master but nangabe ukhanza ukuthi setentiwe tinhlolo thide sabona ukuthi vele kude labantu kumbe kude umntukulu kude umzala then kumbe that would be the last resort. But siyesithi kubantu gcwalisa and u-update tinhlobo takho longathi ukuthi ngalesikhathi sakho sekushona they were financially dependent because lo mthetho usho njalo ukuthi wonke umuntu lebeka financially dependent kuwe kumele ayithole ingcenye yaleyo mali leyo.
So na sengidecide nje ukuphula out, sengidecide ukuthi hayi angisakhanuki kufaka imali yami ka-Old Mutual. Sengibhadele 10-15 years, sengidecide ukuthi hayi ngiyavuka nje kuseni ukuthi Old Mutual angisamkhanuki, sengifuna kuya kulenye inkampani. Can I do that? Am I allowed to do that?
Yes. So ukhumbule Lulu ukuthi le mali ayikho invested nathi on an individual basis. Imali yenkampani ethide. So nasakakhetha Lulu ukuthi uyaphuma enkampanini ethide, siyakuvumela thina singu Old Mutual nangabe le nkampani it's a retirement solution ka Old Mutual. Wena utophuma njenge individual uhambe nangabe uyenkampanini lekhona retirement benefits yakhona kukususa ngala siyihambise le mali, but nangabe kumbe uyohlala ekhaya usafuna kwakha ibhizinisi sitokuvumela ukuthi leyo mali uyicash out then uhambe uyowenda lofisa kukwenda ngayo. Yeah.
Okay, kumsisiya ngasemaphethelweni nje sifuna kuva nje ukuthi sengiready nyala sengidecide ukuthi I want to ngifuna kwenda i-retirement plan na Old Mutual. Ngaphi ama requirements yini lengudingako, what are the steps nje lekumele ngiwalandzele?
Okay, so nangabe uyinkampani sing Old Mutual siyakusita kokuthi uwasethaphela ama benefits in place 47 takho. So siyesifune kokuthi uthole i-buy-in yemcashi netisebenzi. So ngoba i-Retirement Act ithi ukuthi ngakube ne-dual contribution, siyadisita tinkampani naleti vele tikhona siyadisita kusuka kulesilulu lesi site ka Old Mutual. But nangabe uvele ukhona enkampanini but uyabona ukuthi yathi le mali engiyibekako ayisiyo lengiyibona ukuthi idong sustainer throughout impilo yami ngale pension. Siyasising Old Mutual akhona investment instruments lesibita ngema-unit trust longa seated to supplement ubekele imali njalo ngenyanga ukuze kuthi nasofika kulo 55 noma sofika kulo 60 wathi ukuthi uthola sihlomla sakho ngale emsebentini letophinze ibese isupplementwa ngile mali yakho boyibekela eceleni.
Alright, kugcina nje banomile sivele sindabeni nemsebenzi on the 19th of June kume nje kusiniketa nje sithemba ukuthi nidabeni endani kahle kahle.
Ngiyabonga Lulu. Yebo sing Old Mutual sitobene sine breakfast conversation lapho sibite inkampani cishe letikhona la kangwane kokuthi sibite bo HR ngoba ngibona abantu labasicashako emsebentini, ngibona abantu le umcashi abuke agathi ukuthi inhlela kahle yethu ibuke ngibo. So ngamhla ka-19 sizobe sikhuluma ngayo indzaba ye retirement readiness and sithi kubacashi sicela kungaqali ukukhuluma ku-55 asithi sicasha umuntu siqale simende abe aware kokuthi ipension iyeda dilungiselele ungaphaphami sofike ku-50. So the conversation itobe i-addressa nakule ngicela kupita lo ukuthi it's a pandemic, it's a global pandemic, but sinengalana in Southern Africa kusihlasele kakhulu because nawubuka tinombolo titshengisa ukuthi only 6% webantu are ready for i-retirement. Asesibukeke la kangwane ukuthi kulo 6% webantu kulo 6% nje ukuthi kulabantu labasebenzako only 6% walabo bantu labo batokhona kuphila ngcandi. So sing Old Mutual sithi sifuna kunyusa leyo nombolo leyo ukuthi sibe na more people participating in them being able to replace at least 75%. And so besi challenge abo HR inkampanini ngokuthi asikhulumiseni lenzaba asitshele abantu basi-interrogate statement ngoba liqiniso lakhona ukuthi uyasithola le statement nangabe ikhona i-pension but ubese sothini emva kwaloko. So umhla ka-19 leyo nkhuluma itebe ikhona nokuthi sing Old Mutual stobe sisho ukuthi sinawo ema-solutions langanisita ntinkampani kusho ukuthi you can prepare di-70 takho dikhona ukuthi tibe ready ukuthi natifika ku-retirement diphile kahle.
Alright, so social media nkhona they can ask, they can interact nani babute any question.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
All right. And of course bethi suroti yavela lapha tinombolo labangachumana khona nani ka WhatsApp abanshale nema-landline mangabe if they have any more questions. Thanks so much for banomile for joining us today. Mkisoti vele ukuthi akubalekile ukuthi uyendele your retirement plan kodwa awukhona ukuthi uenjoy kahle imali yakho naso uthethe umhlala phansi kepha ke nangabe ufuna kuva kabandi ngayo retirement plans ungachumana nabo baka Old Mutual tinombolo bethi suroti vela kalapha naka social media bayatfolakala bayakhona ku-interacta ke nesive. Let's take a break sabe siqhubeke nehlelo.
Lesi sikhathi lapho khona emaphoyisa agubha kuba khona kwawo even. Kulapho kukhuthathwa khona sive ukuthi sike sihlale phansi sibuke bumcoka bemaphoyisa empilweni yabantu. siphindze sibuke tindlela letinsha tekuphepha kubo bonke bucala lobuveta sihloko. Sive sakangwane siyakhunjutwa ukuthi singawafaki emaphoyisa etinkulumeni tepolitiki ngoba liphoyisa alingeni futhi alingenelani nepolitiki. Emaphoyisa alwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco kuphela nje. Ingako emaphoyisa athi wonke umuntu eveni akahlale ngaphandle kwekunceneka ukuthi angahle ahlaselwe tilwane tasendle. Umuntu lohlala Eswatini akatiphilele atisebentele ngaphandle kwekwesaba kuhlaselwa kwemucwa nekucekelwa phansi kwempahla yakhe. Nawe wena lophathekile emaphoyisa athi digulele kahle uze uphile ngaphandle kwekuphatamiseka. Lokungenteka ngekuthi tidlova tingene tihlasele labo labakunakekelako kuleyo ndlu. Sive lesihlakaniphile nguleso lesiphakamisa kusebenta kwemaphoyisa nabo bonke labalwa nebucala. Ngale kwaloko timbungushe tiyawuwangenela emazinyane kungenamuntu ekhaya. Lo mlayeto niulethelwa ngemaphoyisa eMbube abambisene nomsakato wetithombe.
Do you remember the spinning thing? This is us. This picture represents what we did. We were there when coronavirus wreaked havoc in our population. Together with other stakeholders, we formed the first line, controlling the spread of the unknown and unseen enemy of the people. Anxious ourselves, we collected dead bodies countrywide. At the time when no one wanted to come near dead bodies of loved ones, we did care for our fellow citizens. Thank you, the people of Eswatini and teams of first responders.
Asimze sinemukele isithupha imizuzu kude kushaya insimbi esikhombisa namhla ekuseni sikhulumisana na Constable Nombenhle kusinikita sithombise ukuthi ngabe kuhambeka kanjani emigwaqweni. Asivusele Mtolo ngabe kanjani namhla ekuseni emigwaqweni.
Ngikuvusele Magagula ngikuvusele Mthombeni imigwaqo elivela kaNgwane sesihlolile singumbutho weMbube nesive imigwaqo leminingi iyahambeka. Kepha ke tikhona tikhinyabedo letikhona lapha nalapha kepha ngeke timende leyo losebenzisa umgwaqo kwekuthi angakhona ukufika lapho asise kufika khona. Lesikunakako nje kulolu suku lanamuhla etindzaweni letiningi siyanaka kunemoya lomkhulu lokwenta kwekuthi imotolo nangabe tihamba ngelitubane lelisetulu ingagcina setiphunyukile to khona esandleni sebashayeli. Sithi nje bashayeli basashayela abacophelele kakhulu kwatise phela kwekuthi imoto nangabe uhamba ngayo livusha iyakhinyabeteka ngalenye indlela isahamba khona emgwaqweni. Lokunya ke lesingakukhuthaza kubo bashayeli kungaba ngiko nje kwekuthi nabasafaka dona timotolo tabo abente sona siqiniseko kwekuthi abatipaki phansi kwetihlahla kwatise phela ukuthi leto tihlahla singagcina tiwa igcobe dona leto timoto. Emadolobha eliveke siwahlolile sibale temgwaqo siyasebenta kuwo omane lamadolobha. Singathanza nje kukwatisa yena umlaleli nalo kulolusuku lanamuhla kungaba ngiko nje kwekuthi eMangwaneni sibane temgwaqo sisesaba nesikhathi lesise singasebenzi. Lesingathanza ke kuwatisa yena umbukeli kulolusuku lanamuhla ngiko kona kwekuthi setiyasebenta. Sekungetekile ke kuto letibane temgwaqo setiyakhipha umchibisholo lobheka lophumela ngesenqele eMountain Inn nawo lophumela khona eMangwaneni lebe kude itolo nakasasebenta. Singathanza nje kusibonga kakhulu sive senkosi kwatise phela kwekuthi leto tibane temgwaqo leto sibe nesikhathi lesise kakhulu ingasebenzi bakhombisile bashayeli noma ke labo labasebenzisa lo mgwaqo ubambisana basawusebenzisa lo mgwaqo ngesizathu sekuthi siyanaka ingoti lebetenteka khona lapho adisito leti lebesitolo sigadile kwekuthi dingenteka sithi nje etimeni letinjengaleti bashayeli abachubeke basibambise kakhulu ukuze kuthi siphephe sisawusebenzisa umgwaqo. Na usuka ekhasi edolobheni eMbabane ubheka khona eSport umgwaqo solo uvaliwe lapho kulandzela kona kwekuthi umgwaqo uyakhiwa. Na usuka ehekeni laseNgwenya uyakhona kaManzini lokufaka ekhasi naye eMalagwane umgwaqo uyahambeka lapho kude siKhinyabedolo lesikhona. Lomunye umgwaqo lesiuhlolile ngumgwaqo losuka emhlaleni ubheke kaHlatsi kusuka lapha kuTebetebe uyafika lapha eNkwene Clinic lo mgwaqo lapho ugugubuliwe lokwenta kwekuthi so gravel la uhamba kuwo sithi nje bashayeli basasebenzisa wona umgwaqo losuka khona emhlaleni uye kaHlatsi abanake kakhulu kwathi sephela ukuthi utawuhamba ngetigaba solo ugobhobulwa. Na uhamba ke ngelitubane lelisetulu umgwaqo nangabe sewugogobuliwe ukhanza kwekuthi na usuka la kulelitiyela sowungena kuwo la ubonakala khona ukuthi udelitiyela lapho nangabe unganakisisi vele imotolo ingagcina iphumile esandleni kubangeke dona tingozi. Ekhasi edolobheni enhlangano sihlolile nakhona kusuka kaMjuda uyawufika khona eCasino lo mgwaqo loyo uvaliwe wonke kulandzela kona kwekuthi uyakhiwa sithi nje bashayeli lababheka khona komhlosheni abachubeke bangene ekhasi edolobheni bayawuphumela khona eCasino kuze ukuthi bachubeke bahambe ngekuphepha. Ngale kwaloko Thombeni naye umbukeli imigwaqo elivela kaNgwane iyahambeka ngaphandle kwalesi senkishido sikaBedo ungaba kufisela yena umlaleli usuku loluhle naloluphephile basetawusebenzisa yona imigwaqo elivela kaNgwane.
Sibakho Constable kusiniketa leyo report nge-traffic lomhla ekuseni asibahlelete makethe sibuye netindzaba tangephandle.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Good morning and welcome back. Let's take a look at international news. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that fighting in a long-awaited offensive against Russian forces was tough, but claimed Kyiv was moving forward. Kyiv on Monday said it had wrested 7 villages in eastern and southern Ukraine from Russian forces since the weekend. The claims could not be independently verified.
Проти морської піхоти 35-ї бригади зупинив населений пункт Староживе. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
The claims are yet to be verified, but according to Kyiv, Starozheve is the 4th town to be liberated from Russian forces in the past few days.
Спочатку ворог
At first, the enemy resisted, but we managed to take the initiative, and slowly, house by house, we recaptured the town.
Reuters news agency was able to verify the location of the footage filmed by the Ukrainian armed forces as Starozheve, but could not confirm the date it was shot. Along with Blahodatne, Neskuchne and Makarivka, the 4 towns in the eastern Donetsk region are relatively small, but their liberation would back theories that Ukraine wants to rupture the land bridge between Russian-occupied Crimea and Donetsk. The military is under strict orders of operational silence, but Ukrainian soldiers have reported that the Russians were quick to retreat.
Вони потікали, все кинули, там зараз такий безлад, що то просто капець.
But Moscow was yet to confirm any retreats. The Russian Defense Ministry has painted Ukraine's counter-offensive as a failure since it began last week. It claims to have repelled all attacks and says it has destroyed several American and German-made armored vehicles.
The leader of the Wagner mercenary group, Yevgeny, said Sunday his fighters would refuse to sign any contract with Russia's defense minister Sergei in the latest sign of a growing spat between the group and Moscow over the handling of the war in Ukraine.
The Kremlin seems to have given itself a headache in the form of Yevgeny Prigozhin. The head of the Wagner mercenary force has spent months publicly arguing with Russia's top military brass, embarrassing the Kremlin. Things escalated on Sunday when the man dubbed Putin's butcher said his company would refuse to sign any contracts with Russia's defense ministry, contracts widely seen as an attempt to bring the group into line.
Wagner will not sign any contracts with Defense Minister Shoigu. Wagner has the deepest experience and is a highly effective structure, but most military units don't have such efficiency, precisely because Shoigu doesn't know how to manage military formations. What can happen if we refuse this order? We will not be given weapons and ammunition. We'll figure it out, but when it hits the fan, they will come running, bringing weapons and ammunition along with a request for help.
The Defense Ministry said all volunteer formations would have to sign contracts with the ministry by the end of the month in an attempt to increase efficiency, but that was rubbished by Prigozhin. Since being founded to aid separatists in the eastern Ukrainian Donbas region in 2014, Wagner has had shady dealings in Syria, Libya, the Central African Republic and more. At one time, the connection between the group and the Kremlin was rumored internationally but denied by Moscow. That smokescreen, however, lifted when Russia started its invasion of Ukraine. Wagner's troops have played a key role in Russia's offense, recruiting thousands of prisoners to fill their ranks. But those convicts leave their cells to play a deadly game of Russian roulette. Of the 50,000 Wagner fighters, the US estimates over 30,000 have been killed or injured.
Recent clashes in northern Kosovo between Kosovars and ethnic Serbs are raising concerns about a possible new conflict in the region.
Escalating tensions between Kosovo and Serbia could delay Kosovo's future integration into the EU, according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. This after ethnic Serbians living in northern Kosovo rioted in response to Kosovo's decision to install ethnic Albanian mayors in the primarily Serbian-populated region. The Kosovo government sent the armed police that used tear gas and stun grenades to disperse crowds. Serbia sent troops to the border with Kosovo. Member of the European Parliament Viola von Kramon Taubadel criticized Kosovo's response to the clashes.
To put the heavy armed police forces on the ground is clearly a decision of Pristina, it's clearly a decision of the government, and I think that in the end was a huge mistake. So is that endangering the entire process? I would say it will, of course, not help. And it damaged and ruined a lot of trust.
Taubadel is referring to the work of the Joint Monitoring Committee to oversee the implementation of a deal brokered in April between Serbia and Kosovo. Under the agreement, the Kosovo government will allow the ethnic Serbian population of northern Kosovo to manage themselves, and the Serbian government promised not to interfere in Kosovo's attempts to join international organizations. The deal is meant to expedite the integration of the Western Balkans into the EU, but renewed tensions have put the agreement at risk.
The compromise which we had end up now is obviously not sufficient, does not serve the interest of the people on the ground.
While European officials try to mitigate the conflict, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that rising tensions in Kosovo may lead to a huge explosion in the heart of Europe. Alexander Levchenko, former Ukrainian ambassador to Croatia, says the developments in northern Kosovo benefit Moscow.
Their goal is to have a conflict somewhere else, preferably in Europe, and divert the attention of Europeans and Americans from Ukraine. That would also allow Moscow to gain political points, presenting itself as a peacekeeper.
Ervan Foire with the Center for European Policy Studies agrees.
And there's no doubt that in these recent developments of unrest, that you have malign forces, Russian groups, who are fomenting and trying to exacerbate the tensions.
Experts believe a speedy accession of Western Balkans into the EU could help solve the problem.
This is the only way to guarantee some long-term stability within the European Union and in its nearest neighborhood.
To help ease tensions, NATO officials are moving an additional 700 troops to the region, and US officials have disallowed Kosovo from participating in ongoing military exercises in the region. Newly released video shows the moment 4 siblings were found in the Amazon jungle after going missing for 40 days. The children's experience began when their plane suffered an engine failure and crashed in the middle of the dense Colombian jungle.
Video released by the Colombian government shows the rescue of the children who had been missing following the plane crash that left 3 adults dead, including the pilot and the children's mother. Public television station RTVC Noticias broadcast the video showing local indigenous guards and the Colombian army holding and feeding the children. The youngsters were found between the Colombian provinces of Caquetá and Guaviare. The minors, including a baby who turned 1 year old in the jungle, had been missing since May 1st, when the Cessna 206 plane carrying them crashed in the Colombian Amazon. Their grandfather, Fidencio Valencia, celebrated the moment he was reunited with them.
I just saw my grandchildren and first they are alive. They are very exhausted, but I know they are in good hands in the hospital and I know that it's going to turn out well.
Army General Pedro Sanchez told reporters about the call he received informing him the children had been found.
I am simply the voice of my army, of the indigenous people, who walked in an adverse web in the middle of the jungle, step by step, 2,556 kilometers. That is like walking from Bogota to Lima, Peru. At 5:15 p.m., the commander from the Special Forces, Brigadier General John Katoa, reported to me, "Miracle, miracle, miracle." That's the key word we gave to this operation.
Under the name Operation Hope, at least 11 aircraft were used in the search. More than 150 soldiers from the Military Special Forces Command, 73 indigenous people, and a Belgian Shepherd dog participated. Leslie is the 13-year-old who helped keep the kids alive. Authorities say she kept them moving forward, camping, caring for her baby sister, and fighting for the nutrients and food she needed to survive. Colombian Defense Minister Ivan Velázquez described the moment he met Leslie.
When the older girl arrived yesterday after midnight, she began to ask to turn on the TV to watch children's shows. And when we arrived, she was precisely in her bed watching TV.
The 4 children are recovering at the military hospital in Bogotá, where they arrived with signs of dehydration and insect bites. But so far, they are recovering.
Scotland's former leader Nicola Sturgeon insisted on Sunday she had done nothing wrong after police questioned her as part of an investigation into the finances of the country's ruling party.
From the top of the government to a top suspect in a financial crime scandal, former Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon was briefly arrested and questioned by police on Sunday before being released just hours later. Sturgeon was detained in connection to an ongoing investigation examining the finances of the ruling Scottish National Party. After her release, Sturgeon said on Twitter,
"To find myself in the situation I did today, when I'm certain I have committed no offence, is both a shock and deeply distressing. I would never do anything to harm either the SNP or the country. Innocence is not just a presumption I'm entitled to in law. I know beyond doubt that I am in fact innocent of any wrongdoing."
The investigation has been going on since 2021 and is investigating how a missing £600,000 was spent. The money had been raised for campaigning to further the party's main cause, to secure Scottish independence from the United Kingdom. Other top SNP officials have also been arrested and released without charge, including Chief Executive Peter Murrell, who happens to be Nicola Sturgeon's husband. Sturgeon's decade at the top of Scotland's political landscape once earned her the nickname the Queen of Scots. She assumed office in the wake of a national referendum on independence, dubbed a once-in-a-generation vote, but Sturgeon has worked to get the issue back in the spotlight. Ultimately, she failed in her mission to oversee a Scottish breakaway from the UK, but succeeded in turning a one-issue party into the country's most popular political movement. She stepped down from premiership at the end of March, citing external scrutiny on her life and career as being a factor in her decision to resign.
Donald Trump will be appearing in a Miami court today, where he's expected to be charged following his indictment, sparking security as his supporters, many of whom believe the GOP frontrunner is the victim of a witch hunt being waged against him by the Biden administration.
Many are calling the indictment an act of war. Hundreds of Trump loyalists drove from Miami to Palm Beach in a show of support for the former president and in celebration of his upcoming birthday. His supporters remain undeterred by his second indictment. If anything, it's only strengthened their conviction that the Justice Department is politically motivated.
It's a bunch of, I don't want to say it, but you know what? It's just a witch hunt. It's a BS. It's they try to. Why they're doing it now?
Donald Trump will be appearing in court on Tuesday after the DOJ unsealed a 37-count indictment accusing him of mishandling classified documents after he left the White House. But delegitimizing institutions and legal processes has long been part of Trump's political strategy.
The ridiculous and baseless indictment of me by the Biden administration's weaponized Department of Injustice will go down as among the most horrific abuses of power in the history of our country. Many people have said that. Democrats have even said it.
With his court date fast approaching, FBI agents across the country are keeping a close eye on the violent rhetoric mounting among his supporters, a lot of it fueled by some very high-profile backers.
If you want to get to President Trump, you're going to have to go through me, and you're going to have to go through 75 million Americans just like me. Most of us are card-carrying members of the NRA. That's not a threat. That's a public service announcement.
The January 6th Capitol attack has set a precedent for violent rhetoric turning into large-scale assaults. The FBI hasn't identified any credible threats so far.
The United States plans to rejoin UNESCO from July this year, ending a lengthy dispute that saw Washington end its membership in 2018, the UN Cultural Agency announced on Monday.
True to its promise of reversing Donald Trump's policies, the Biden administration says it plans for the United States to rejoin UNESCO after 5 years of absence.
UNESCO is doing well, and it will do even better with the return of the United States. Because the aim of multilateralism is to welcome all nations, large and small.
US officials say the decision was motivated by the concern that Beijing is filling the gap left by Washington in UNESCO policymaking, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying UNESCO is letting China write the rules on artificial intelligence. Beijing said it would not oppose the move, but reminded Washington to pay back more than $600 million in dues.
We hope that UNESCO follows the rules and the regulations of the organization and urges the US to pay the arrears of its assessed contribution and pay its assessed contribution in full.
A founding member of UNESCO, the United States was the biggest contributor to UNESCO's budget until 2011, when the body admitted Palestine as a member state, triggering an end to US contributions. The Trump administration then decided in 2017 to withdraw from the agency altogether, citing anti-Israel bias. The country previously pulled out of UNESCO in 1984 as it viewed the agency as corrupt and used to advance Soviet interests, rejoining in 2003 under the Bush administration. Its second reinstatement will be put to vote by its 193 member states in July, where the US will need to secure the majority.
Montenegro's New Europe Now party has come out on top in a snap election on Sunday, according to projected results. But with 25.6% of the vote, it failed to secure enough votes to rule alone, and it will have to seek partners in the 81-seat parliament to form the government.
The election might be over, but the future is far from certain. On Sunday, Montenegrins took to the polls in an early parliamentary election, which was meant to end deep political divisions and years of instability that have hampered the small NATO member country on its route to joining the European Union. Early polls are showing that the newly formed centrist movement Europe Now, led by Miloko Spajic, has secured a majority to win the elections, but without enough seats in the 81-seat parliament to form a new government on its own.
Tonight, we're here to celebrate a truly big victory, which is historic not just in Montenegro, but in Europe. I don't think this ever happened before in Europe, that a non-parliamentary party, which has existed since August of last year, for 10 months only, wins the election, and wins against those that usurped all the resources of this country.
Unlike in previous elections, when the focal point of campaigning was whether the country should be leaning towards the EU or closer to Russia and Serbia, the economy and the living standards dominated the issues this time. The Democratic Party of Socialists, formerly led by ex-Prime Minister and President Milo Đukanović, experienced a decline in popularity after 30 years of dominance, and the new leadership was looking for a chance to make a comeback. Late Sunday night, the Center for Monitoring and Research pollsters said Europe Now won 25.6% of the votes, and the Democratic Party of Socialists 23.7%. However, the DPS and a group of small allied parties are saying they won one parliamentary seat more than their opponents by their own vote count.
The DPS, within the list of the coalition Together, has the most mandates and is the strongest political power in Montenegro, with 18 of them. Europe Now movement has 17 mandates. You may think about lists. I'm talking about political powers. Things are clear and precise here.
The State Election Commission is set to deliver the final results in the coming days, but the political instability is likely to continue, with no clear winner and difficult coalition talks ahead.
Though an often divisive and controversial figure, members of the public as well as the country's current leader have been paying tribute to Silvio, who died on Tuesday, aged 86.
Journalists, police and supporters of former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi were among those gathered outside Milan's San Raffaele Hospital, where he died on Monday, aged 86. Berlusconi, who had been suffering from blood cancer for some time, was admitted to the hospital on Friday for pre-planned tests. Some members of the public laid tributes and paid their respects to the former Prime Minister.
He had respect for everyone, a great thing.
Today, I am in pain. He is like a family member who has given me something all my life.
A divisive figure among Italians, Berlusconi had been troubled with ill health for years, from heart surgery in 2016 to contracting COVID in 2020. Last month, he posted this video from hospital in which he urged the public to take part in municipal elections. He was Italy's longest-serving prime minister, having led the country for 9 years in total, but his influence extended far beyond the realm of politics. He also built a business empire encompassing publishing companies, advertising agencies and TV networks. Current PM Giorgia Meloni described him as one of Italy's most influential men.
Silvio Berlusconi was, above all, a fighter. He was a man who was never afraid to stand up for his beliefs. And it was exactly that courage, that determination that made him one of the most influential men in Italy's history, that allowed him to make real breakthroughs in the world of politics, communication and business.
His involvement in sex scandals and a series of legal troubles made him a polarising figure who leaves a controversial legacy. He will be given a state funeral in Milan Cathedral on Wednesday.
More than 100 French firefighters have arrived in Quebec to help battle raging wildfires that have been sweeping through vast swathes of Canada in recent weeks. As of Sunday, there were some 431 active fires still burning across the country.
With their trucks loaded and their equipment ready, these French firefighters are all set for their mission. But they're operating on unfamiliar territory this week. Just over 100 reinforcements have been flown into Quebec from France to help the Canadians combat the wildfires that have been scorching the country. After several days of training, they're now ready to join the effort.
This preparation was absolutely essential, and that's why we haven't been able to go out into the field until now, because there's so much information we needed to take in. Safety information, information about the equipment, so that we can intervene in the most efficient way.
They'll be focusing their efforts on the 299 fire in Quebec that's already burned over 7,000 hectares. That's the equivalent of over 10,000 football pitches. The French are no strangers to wildfires, having experienced particularly destructive blazes last summer, a trend that's expected to worsen in the coming years due to climate change.
We can't work in the same way as we do at home, given that the topography and vegetation are completely different. But I think that this will give us a better understanding of the forest fire phenomenon, and will likely have some feedback to bring home to France in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Canada is enduring its most devastating spring fire season in its history. Firefighters in Quebec have regained control of some of the wildfires, though, sparking hope that the worst is over.
Ukrainian Air Force pilots say they are eager to learn how to fly F-16 fighter jets and use them in combat against Russian forces. A coalition of nations, including the United States and 8 European countries, are partnering to expedite their training.
Since Russia's invasion, Ukrainian fighter pilot Rostislav Lazarenko has flown more than 330 sorties. He completed his first one on the first day of the war.
We didn't know what to expect. We were going after the column of 700 military vehicles coming from Crimea. When we made the plan on paper and walked toward the plane, my partner pilot Sasha said, "I am afraid." I am also afraid, but we must do it. Who will do it if not us? This is our faith, I said.
By the morning of February 24, 2022, Lazarenko, with his partner, had destroyed the largest Russian military convoy from Crimea. But Sasha died when his plane was shot down. Lazarenko flew through the cloud of flames, but survived. Since then, the 28-year-old has gone to battle against the Russian invaders almost every day. He says his fellow pilots are poised to master the high-performance F-16 fighter jet and join him in the fight.
Knowing my team, knowing Ukrainians, I know when they will go for training. While we fight here, They will not rest. They will do everything in their power to master new planes as soon as possible and come back.
Fighter pilot Alexei, who did not give his last name for security reasons, is fighting shoulder to shoulder with Lazarenko.
F-16 will be break advantages of Russians fighters of Su-35 because F-16 will increase the engagement distance, and we will have ability to destroy enemy in the occupation territory of Ukraine.
They may have to overcome language differences, but Alexei says Ukrainian pilots already know a lot about the F-16s.
About some aircraft systems, about some flights, techniques, I think it's not a big deal for our pilots because, as our teacher says, you have to feel an aircraft, and they think feeling of aircraft in Ukrainian language, in English language, will be the same.
They have started training using flight simulators, says Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Ignat.
The touchscreens are all in the F-16. You need to understand how it works, like a child playing a computer game. Likewise, the child learns it step by step. It takes some time to adapt.
Ignat says the trainees are ready to go.
Dozens of pilots have been identified and will go in waves, possibly to different countries, and aviation engineers who will service the equipment. They are those pilots who already know English, young pilots, and are motivated.
Ignat says the Ukrainian pilots need about 4 months of training on the F-16s, 2 months less than previously sought. Even though much work lies ahead, they are eager to meet the enormous expectations they face in Ukraine.
Zimbabwe's central bank's efforts to arrest the sharp depreciation of the country's dollar seem to be failing as the currency took a nosedive and was trading on Monday at more than 6,000 against the US dollar from about 2.6 on the black market.
Samantha Sibanda says the new measures by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe have not helped the economy. Instead, she's seeing prices go up and thus making it difficult for her to look after her 4 dependents.
There's no savings at all. And, daily there's a shock that I get as well, just to see that everything is just going up.
But Trust Chikora, an economic commentator, says it will not be long before people like Sibanda start benefiting from the central bank's measures. He says that the liberalization of the exchange rate means the real value of the local dollar will soon be found.
They are increasing statutory reserves for banks to reduce money supply growth. Money supply growth is the one that drives the exchange rate. If you reduce money supply growth, you reduce the need to have the barrel rate continuing to go up. If we can stabilize the exchange rate, we will then be able to stabilize prices.
Not everyone agrees. Prosper Chitambara is a senior economist with the Labour and Economic Development.
Ukubhalisela lukhetho sekuqalile. Ngakho-ke, faka isandla ekwakheni uhulumende wakho ngekuthi ubhalise.
Then think of stabilizing the currency.
Another alternative could be maybe to adopt full dollarization, but with a clear roadmap of the benchmarks that must be achieved in order to then de-dollarize. But ultimately, de-dollarization, again, is a function of confidence. And confidence is a function of implementing the right monetary, fiscal, and institutional reforms.
Zimbabwe's government has ruled out dollarization, saying the country does not have enough US dollars to sustain the economy. That may mean a longer time for Zimbabweans like Sibanda before they see stable prices.
Alright, sesifika ngaphathelene netindzaba tangaphandle kwakuleli sidaba hlelete emakethe nasibuya sifisa ukuthi abakhulumisana nasidimolkhele bakhuluma nge-HPV vaccine rollout lecala lamuhla sinshine simo selitulo.
Ukubhalisela lukhetho sekuqalile. Ngakho-ke, faka isandla ekwakheni uhulumende wakho ngekuthi ubhalise. bhalisela lukhetfo esiteshini sekubhalisa lesisedvute nawe kubhalisa kuti awugcina matili 14 inhlaba kulosetulu 14 June 2023 ungasali zakha live letfu.
All right, 33 minutes after 7 asiphinze sikwamukele ehlelweni ingwane lo muhle simoya ukuthi solo-ke uhleli nathi. Out of more than 500 wema-cancer cases laba khona lapha eveni lakangwane la-reportwa-ke baka-cancer control unit laba attenda annually babika-ke ukuthi bantfu labangemakhulu lamane abasurvive. Ngeminyaka wa-2020 bantfu labang-341 bekungilabo labane-cervical cancer kanti-ke 214 female patients passed away. The other deaths were from other cancers. On the 24th of February, umakuqala nje umnyaka wa 2023 sibone imvuna litiko letemafa Neil Reichenberg yethula emaphakelo lapho khona ke ya-announce 20 million emalangeni yambeka ke nga 1.4 million US dollars. Yaveta yacacisa ukuthi le mali lena ye HPV vaccine rollout sibonile ke umnyaka usachubeka ngenyanga April mhla ka 18 Eswatini Cancer Control Unit confirm officially ukuthi uhulumende welive lakangwane sokhonile kuprocurisha wona ama HPV vaccines. Kanti ke esukwini la itolo on the 12th of June 2023 sibone inkosikazi Makela Mathebula iphakamisa ngalokusemthethweni the launch rather of the vaccine HPV vaccine. Bavetile ke lokuningi ukuthi le vaccine lena it seeks to respond to the concerning fact that live lakangwane lingcenye emave lakhona emhlabeni with the highest cervical cancer rates in the world. The country's National Cancer Control Unit phindze ke yaveta ukuthi 59% of female cancer cases in the country are cervical cancer, followed by prostate cancer at 30% and breast cancer leme ku 19.5%. The rollout of the vaccine is scheduled for inyanga ya June. Inyanga lesikuyo ke leyo kanti ke nyalo sinaye Sidumo Lukhele lo i-health promotions officer lotasichazela kabanti ngalolu hlelo. Sikuvusele kakhulu Mr. Lukhele lo mhlekuseni simaye kusijoin.
Siyabonga mfowethu sivusele nembukeli ekhaya.
Indzaba ye-HPV vaccine babelikhele indzaba lenkulu kakhulu. I think nang-highlighta lama dates bengizama lokuveta lo ukuthi ku-announce kwayo ku-budget speech I think naleti mali dinengi kakhulu 1.4 million US dollars. Dikhombisa ukuthi live lakangwane vele noma ngithi uhulumende olive lakangwane utimisele kangakanani kulwa ne-cervical cancer. Ingene nje kungaba kuspendela sithombe sayo le-cervical cancer ukuthi ilinyeva kangakanani vele kangwane.
Siyabonga msakati. I-cancer cishe yonke wonke umdlavuza ulinyeva esigabeni lesithi kuyaye kunganakeki ngalesikhathi kwendeka lokho lesithi infection. Ukhanze ukuthi ke kutawuhamba sigaba ukuthi la khona kuvela letimpawu ukhanze ukuthi tivela sesisesigabeni la kumnaka lo muntu sekubita kakhulu. Esikhathini lesiningi ukhanza ukuthi sekutawubita sithole lusito loselungasekho within the country. Lokho ke kuyasidulela silive ngoba kutawufanele ethwalwe loyo lophathekile aye eveni labomakhelwane. Sekale-eveni labomakhelwane kungabi ngilokwelashwa kuphela sekungena tindleko tekuthi ulele kuphi tindleko tekuthi udla njani kungikhani ke sitawufika la khona sekunakwa lesimo lesekakuso ngetulu kwaloku khanza ukuthi kusibuyisela emuva lesimo kuleti gaba nekushiyana kwato ukhanza ukuthi kusuke sekulukhuni kungako leti nombolo locetsa kutibeka tisetulu leti talaba lokhanza sebayashiya emhlabeni kungako ke siyayesicukutele lokuthi asende lokulesithi ngama screenings sitosheshe sibona ngoba kuba khona la khona nakusacala ukhanze ukuthi singakhona kunginaka emitholampilo lesinayo even bathi ke ngekungakhuthali mhlawumbe kubantu lokuhlola ukhanza ukuthi utawuze alethwe ukuthi sekunetimpawu letikhomba ukuthi kukhona lesekakusola kanti usola nje sesisesimeni lesesisibi ngaleso sikhathi.
Ngabe belikhele uma nigqugqutela le screening nithi umuntu akethe kuto screen noma ngabe kude ama symptoms lawabonako kuba kanjani vele
le screening vele sisesigabeni la kusuke kude khona timpawu lekativa oyena kuluhlobo lwekuvikela lokuthi sithi njalo kanye ngeminyaka lemibili loyo lobekahlolile wathi khanza ede ligciwane le-HIV kanti lona lona ligciwane le-HIV sithi kanye ngeminyaka entesiciniseko sekuthi ahlole ngetulu kwalokuhlola ke sesithi te asihlole sakukhanza lokulesikhanza kuba khona taba letendekako letingenta ukuthi asitakale lo muntu ekhaya siphinde sigcizelele lendlela ngoba nasikhuluma ngamdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho sikhuluma ngeligciwane lokhanza kuthi lahamba kakhulu ngaleti tekulalana so le human papilloma virus iligciwane lelihamba kakhulu ngato letekulalana so siyayesibese siyakucizelela lokuthi phephisa naba kule nkonzo leyo bantu labadibene sikhulume ngekutivikela ngecondom siphindze siphakamise kakhulu ukugcugcutela kusoka kulaba besilisa ngoba kuleli jwabu ukhanza ukuthi ngilapho la libhaca khona leligciwane bese soyatheleleka ke loyo losuke ede noma ke siphindze sikhulume ngalendzaba ye kuba naloya nabo ecansini labanyende lotawukhanza ukuthi ke kusendeka leso sigaba leso seyisetulu kakhulu lizinga lekuthi bekungaba nekuthelelana leligciwane lelibanga lomdlavuza so tibadinyendana letindzaba tekutivikela lesikhuluma ngato anze ubeke sifike kule vaccine lesikhuluma ngayo kulamalanga le singena nje kulendzaba yale vaccine sime esigabeni la sithi khona leligciwane i-human papilloma virus liyangena emtimbeni lihlale iminyaka lengaba ngetulu kwalelishumi lingakakhombi timpawu tekuthi kukhona umonakalo leseluwenda lokwenta ke ukuthi nasithi le vaccine lesukunyiswe itolo ingulenye yetindlela tekuvikela siya esigabeni la sithi ikahle ke nasitayinika umntwana lo sengacali lokulala kutothi nakufika esigabeni sekuthi sewukhulile so uyakhona kulala asebenzisa naletinye tindlela tekutivikela kodwa lo mtimba wakhe utabeso wakhe emasotsha latawenta ukuthi noma lingangena leligciwane emtimbeni ube mncane lo monakalo noma kube bede lo monakalo lelingawenda kutigucula noma kufika la khona selakha lo mdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho.
Engabe le screening sibita bomali nje ngoba ngiyabona lo ukuthi ngathi ngiso lesimcwa kakhulu especially kunaba bosisla sebengathi bathe kukhula bantwana at least bona sebanako sibatawufale nangumjovo naba la sebakhulile nje bosisi bethu labasemivasi naba la sebangalabakhulile kwenca lapho
even la Eswatini kusebenzisa umtholampilo nawuye la khona kungisesibhedlela uyaye okhiphe 10 emalangeni nawuye la khona kungile mitholampilo lengaphansi njengama public health units ukhanza ukuthi kude ngishosheleni lomkhiphako uthole ke kwendiwa le screening uthole le miphumela letawenda ke ukuthi utshelwe ukuthi usesigabeni lesinjani kungaba kukhutsata nje Maswati ngoba lo munye utawuthi hayi ngitele mali yokugibela ibhasi ngiyele noma ngitele isikhathi le nasidudutelana siyaye sibe nokuthi hlephula kusona lesikhona isikhathi ubeke lokunye eceleni kanye ngeminyaka noma kanye ngeminyaka lemibili uluze lokwendako uye lemtholampilo ukhona lokuyisukumela impilo yakho noma sesikhuluma nangaletinye izinto leti ta screen kodwa njengoba nyalo siconzene nendzaba letsinzana namdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho akusiko lokudulile nangiphendula ngcono umbuto lowubutayo umsakade
akaduli nembala ngiyakhumbula itolo mangibukela ndzaba kube nelive lelivelile lapha inkosikazi lamathebula uma ilauncha le vaccine ekutheni lo mjovo awusiyo ipassport ukuthi bantwana salo bayolala nemuntu nje lothole lo mjovo akusho ukuthi sisaka ngahamba ulala so ngeke sayithola leyo HPV virus kungaba nje kwenabisa kulelo point lelo
kungaba kubonga nje emavi laphakanyiswe nguye umuntu lomdzala itolo asasukumisa lo msebenzi ngalokusemthethweni kwaba sigaba lesithi uyagcizelela lokuthi kulabantwana besinabo lapha tinombolo betibonakala ukuthi banyendi and bakhuthele bafundisekile ukuthi sihamba yipi indlela sisachubeka nawo lo msebenzi wayigcizelela ke lendzaba ukuthi kujova akusho ukuthi labantwana sebaniketwe ligunya noma bavusetelwa inkabunkabu yokuthi bese bativa sebangakhona kulala lokhu lwesikufundisako sisakhuluma ngezuzo yalo mjovo ukuthi lo mjovo utabasita ukuthi kungabi nalomdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho nase bakhulile sebafike kuleso sigaba sekuthi bakwendele lesikhuluma ngako and bakwende ngendlela lephephile ngendlela yokuthi kutabe kunekuthembeka emkhathini wakhe naloyo leyogcina seka nemndeni naye lokunye mhlambe lesingakutsinza la kutsinzile kube kuthi labanye banelusolo loluthi kungendeka sebabadzala labantwana bese kukhenya beteka indlela yokuthola abantwana lo mjovo awusikuthi mushasha ukuthi uyefika la Eswatini sewuke wasetshenziswa kulamanye emave kuphindze kucwaningiwe ngawo yaphuma imiphumela lesho ukuthi uphephile and ude indlela yokuthi kungaba nendlela yokunciphisa ukuthi abantu bangatholi bantwana nasebakhulile inhloso yawo ukuthi unciphise emathuba ekuvela kwalomdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho
Yebo kakhulu ukugcizelela kulelo point lelo Mr. Kelly ngoba nami ngiyakhumbula nje manenta media briefing lapha eMbabane Hilton benabo baka World Health Organization nanabo labasiqinisekisa ekutheni myth la ngaba khona in terms of boy infertility bo dizziness nawo konke nalamanye nje ama common symptoms noma ngathi ama reactions laba khona uma ngathethe ivaccine lokho normal itaba khona but lokubese ke bantu sebathusa ngako cishe kwacaciswa kwabanje ebaleni ukuthi akusilo liqiniso uthinza indzaba kwekuthi ngiyajabula sisibonene netithombe inkosikazi lamathebula itolo mayiphakamisa sibona tikwaleti ahlukene maline nje bengwabona lapha etithombeni maline itikola ama uniform lehlukene lawo nayithinza ke indzaba yokuthi ni target ebantwana think nathi 83,000 if I'm not correct you can correct lapho le nombolo le strategic why 83,000 abantwana
kubukweti inombolo tebantwana labakhona even laba kule minyaka lesuka ku9 kuya ku14 labantwana labo ke kulula kubathola ngoba linyandi labo lisetikolweni so now landzela labantwana labasetikolweni ubuka labo labakule minyaka iyatholakala ke le nombolo kunemehlukwana lomncane ke wa 3% webantwana lotawukhanza ukuthi bakiyo le minyaka kodwa ndlela tsite abekho etikolweni so bona ke batawucucutelwa ngale emimangweni ukuthi abasonzele emitholampilo angasonzela nasesikolweni lesidude nala akhona nalifika leli bandla leliphethe lo mjovo awuthole lo mjovo kodwa ke ukhona ke kwayena lona lotawukhanza ukuthi ulakhathe esikolweni kodwa ngelanga kufikwa la esikolweni nalomjovo utawukhanza ukuthi mhlambe khona sikhinyabedo lebesikhona wangabi khona esikolweni noma ke bekabuthakathaka ngalelo langa emtimbeni wangawutholi lo mjovo yena ke utawuya emtholampilo lododane naye awuthole lo mjovo bangilo lelinani lokhuluma ngalo msakadini libukele ekhaya kutholakala lula ngoba tonke tinombolo tebantu labakhona eveni tiyatiwa ukuthi bangakhi
indzaba yema-doses ngiyafuna lokova ukuthi mangakhi ngibutela ndoku ngiyakhumbula abo-COVID-19 abafika saqale satshelwa ukuthi sitawudzinga yinye gcina kuthiwa 2 gcina kuthiwa siyabooster labanye bagcine bathethe bo-4 doses nje engabe la ka-HPV njengoba uvetile ukuthi lamanye amave ngathi aqala kwenda labanye sekacitha nekucetha kuba how many doses nje la ufika ukuthi khona sengicethile.
Siyabonga msakati lo mjovo lesinawo even litiko letempilo lelisitholele wona une kuthi kujove amadosi lamabili shothi nje nyalo loku usukumile itolo sebajovile bantwana batawujova lonke leliviki kuye kuyongena kulele litako bese ke kungena kunasimo sekuthi uthole eclinic noma endawo semtholampilo lodutane nawo lesithi kuba ku-routine kutawuthi ke nase kwengceta inyanga letisithupha sikubeka ngekuthi noma nini emva kwaleti nyanga letisithupha utawubese-ke uthola idosi yesibili lokutawenda ke ukuthi ngale ndlela lesitshelwe ngayo lona umjovo utabeke sewufike esigabeni sekuthi sewutakusita impilo yakho yonke lona losengadini nase uthethe le dosi yesibili lokutawuthi-ke nasibala nyalo ukhanza ukuthi tinyanga letisithupha tiyawusibeka lapha kubo December kodwa ngalokuthi ithi lenzaba anytime after 6 months akusiko ukuthi ngco kulo 6 months nase ahlangane anytime after 6 months songayithola le dose kanzi phela labanyenti balabantwana kuze silo msebenzi usihambele lula sibathola kahle etikolweni lokusho ukuthi ke la kubo February kuya ku March kutase kuphindze kwentiwa umkhankaso lofana nalona losukume itolo kutama kubathola dude nekubathola ngendlela lelula kubuyelwe letikolweni bathole ke idosi yabo yesibili
phanyalo lokuniphuma nje njengoba tikolo advuliwe nibeke ukuthi uma ningamane nje lo 83000 nimbambe kule nyanga ya June noma
siphokophele ukuthi kushaya lesithathu kuleviki lelitako sibe simhlanganisile lo 83000
okay
kunema teams lamanyendi ngesifundza lavuka ekseni angene ngesikolo and lolu hlelo lwende ukuthi lokungenani timane tibe timbili tikolwa le iteam idenda nangabe kunetikolwa letinetinombolo letincane kungenteka mhlambe tibe tintsathu tikolwa lotawukhanza ukuthi iteam yengcile kuto ngelusuku lo sikhuluma nje nyalo silamoyeni baqala bayaphuma baphumela ukuthi nakucedwa ema-morning assembly etikolweni bakhona ke kuqala nalabantwana so naba bacedza kukhona lento lethi asajovile umntwana uyahlala phansi kube nalokuthi amonitheke ukuthi kudeni imivuka so ngalokuthi lelibandla lethu linebantu labanyendana uba khona lo wenda le monitoring abe khona lo chubeka anekucocotela nekufundzisa abe khona lona lojovako sicela ke nelibanjiswana kulabo thishela ngoba ngabo lababatiko labantwana utathi ke nakusuka ke sekubonakele ukuthi yentekile monitoring konke kunakekile sebaya ke kulesinye isikolo kanjalo ukuthi kuyawuphuma letikolo ukhanze ukuthi setendekile leto letimbili letintsathu nangakusasa kude kube ngilesihlanu siyakhumbula ke ukuthi tikolo tivama kungabi khona ngendlela lesetulo ngemcibelo nangelisonto tabe sekuba ngomsombuluko nalesibili siyethemba ukuthi ngalesibili kutabe sekukhomba ukuthi siya ngakuyigocota na bekuselasele kutawucedziswa kahle ngalesithathu.
Yeah, ngijatshiliswa ukuthi nembukelo wekusile breakfast show yakho ukuthi labo lesithathu sike sikhulumisa kakhulu tetempilo angathi kutabuya wena enibabe likhele noma kutaba boxolisile bathi nje nitawuphinze nibuye nitawusipha lesithombe kutheni senisebenze nahamba kangakanani ngiyafuna ke lo ukuthi nginayo le belief ukuthi niyasebenzisana netikolo ekutheni manifana kuqinisekiseke ukuthi khwalo kusethunjini umjovo bangawuthathi noma umjovo lona longathi nakule tinto lethu kakhulu
ngomjovo longahluphi kakhulu ngetinto letisesiswini kodwa sikunakile lokho sisasebenzisana kunelibandla leli la itiko letempilo le lomunye umlende walo ungale etiko letemfundo nekucecesha lesithi yi-schools health program labo libandla lebantu laba betempilo kodwa labasebenta kakhulu naletikolo kufundziswene kucala kwanakwa indzaba yokuthi ibikwe kule ngathi kule senior management team yaka education and training kwewuka-ke kwaya kubothishela nhloko kwewuka kwaya kubo guidance and counseling teachers kwafundiswana ngale nzuzo yalo mjovo ngase tiyanakwa-ke le tinto lesithi ngama-logistics letifaka ekhatsi kwakhona lokuthi sekufikiwe etikolweni kutawulungiswa njani ukuthi badle labantwana noma lo mjovo ude kakhulu tinkinga letitsinzana netindzaba letisesiswini kodwa inakiwe le ndzaba leyo ukuthi babe sesigabeni lesikahle labantwana basetawusitakala
kakhulu kulolu hlangothi abelikhele lo ukuthi nje cishe ndinake tonke letinto lokufuna ngathi ningatinaka nisaphuma nembala livela kangwane liyathokota ngalomjovo lena ubeka nje kwaba sobala ukuthi utaba i-life saver eveni la kangwane sasicina nje ngacela lo ukuthi umotivate umntali ekutheni nalo lisuku in fact icala idolo eqinisweni icala idolo kodwa nje njengoba nakho sebaya esikolweni namuhla khulumisa nje umntali
siyabonga msakati kungaba kugcizelela kubatali ukuthi lo mjovo uphephile inhloso yawo ukuthi usibeke esigabeni la khona kutawehla lizinga labo lamdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho nabo bonke nje labanye bomdlavuza laba bakhona emtimbeni sicela batali-ke ukuthi bayibeke eceleni lenzaba yemahebesi lokhanza ukuthi akasiwo abhebhetela ukuthi bantu bangenwa ngemanti emadolweni so kunemaphepha labantwana labahamba nawo basuke nawo etikolweni bafike nawo emakhaya lacela ukuthi umtali anikede imvume ngokulisayina leli phepha la etikolweni selifikile leli bandla leliphethe lomjovo alinamjova lo mntwana nalingekho lelo phepha kucela libanjiswana nje kubatali sisachubeka-ke thina kulolu hlangothi lotekufundisa nakuthuthukisa tempilo kufika kubantu ngekwehlukana kwabo sesibabonile abafundisi kuletinye tifundza sababona abaholi bemimango tinduna nabo shifu sisetawuchubeka sewuke ngoba kunebantu lesiyaye sithi ngebungibo nje banako ku-influencer impilo yemntwana so siyabachazela sibanikete inzuzo yalo mjovo sendele ukuthi nabo basibambise kukhuthadwe bantwana bawuthathe lo mjovo
mhlathweni Ndlunkulu sibonga kakhulu isikhathi sakho lo mhla ekuseni
sibonge kakhulu umsakati sibonga nakumbukeli ekhaya
Dumo Lukhele, Health Promotions Officer from Litiko letempilo lapha even sichazele kabani nje ngelihlelo losukumile vele lokujovisa bantwana etikolweni umjovo we-HPV vaccine lesithemba ukuthi utasita kakhulu live la kangwane kutemnotho nakhona nje itiko letempilo sibahlole market nasibuya we wrap up the show.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses A world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
Siphinde sikwamukele ngolelo muhle ehlelweni sesifike-ke emaphethelweni elihlelo lethu lalomuhla sithemba lo ukuthi konke leni kuvile lomuhla lento akuhambisa embili njengoba nje umsebenzi ucalile itolo ngokuthi bantwana esikolweni bajova abadala-ke njengoba vedile babelikhela ukuthi shengathi bangadugudela abantu babo ekutheni bawuthathe lo mjovo futhi-ke bangabe sesabafaka abantu emanti emadvolweni nakulabathi fear mongering ngama-myths labheke eceleni umjovo u-healthy sebasitshelile nebelitiko in fact ne-World Health Organization dulu yasitshela ukuthi umjovo lo safe kakhulu lona bantwana bawuthathe sibobonile nje tithombe besinato baqalile itolo vele bawuthathe umjovo.
Yeah, Kunjani, thanks so much for joining us today. You can also watch this episode of Kusile Breakfast Show on YouTube because in Eswatini TV. Have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow on Salagahle.
Let's live it up and party and have cracking good fun.